Hey guys, my name's Alex Hollingsworth. I'm a producer, mixer, and sound designer based here at Octagon Studios in South London, and I'm thrilled to bring you this introductory tutorial on the incredible shape-shifting synthesizer, Europa. I'm going to show you some methods in Europa to create some truly unique timbres in the creative context of working on a track. Let's start off with the concept of wavetable synthesis. Unlike many traditional subtractive synthesizers, the breadth of sounds available is achieved through the morphing between different waveforms, which is known as a wavetable. This shifting of timbres creates a level of movement and fluidity at the oscillator stage that's not possible to the same extent with other forms of synthesis. You can adjust this morphing in Europa through the shape function in the 3 available sound engines. As you can see, there's a variety of different options of waveforms to morph between. Let's cover the first example, named Basic Analog. This is a combination of a sine, triangle, square, and sawtooth wave. As I slowly move through the shape knob in Europa, you can see this waveform morphing between each of the available waveforms in the wavetable. As you can hear, the tone slowly starts to shift back and forth in between the various waveforms in the wavetable as I move this shape knob. This can be done as quickly or as slowly as you like, either synced to the tempo of your DAW session or morphing between waveforms freely. You can also use various different modulators offered in Europa to modulate and morph these wavetables. Most notably, you can use the envelopes available underneath the sound engines, where you have a whole load of options, shapes, and presets available to you. You also have 3 individual LFOs here with various different shapes, which can either sync to the tempo or move freely. And this is all achieved through the modulation matrix at the bottom here. By modulating your wavetables with these, it starts to introduce a lot more movement, depth, and shifting timbres in your sound. This is all before adjusting things like the spectral filter, the unison module, the filter, and all the effects. The sheer possibility of sound manipulation and sculpting in this synthesizer is truly incredible, and there are so many different ways and applications that you can use it. I'm going to demonstrate these concepts in this ambient techno style demo I'm currently working on. I started off with a simple beat using a combination of red drum, Dr. Otto Rex, and beat map. Here's how it sounds. So just a simple techno influence beat with a 4-to-the-floor kick drum and some groovy percussion around it. I grooved it up with the alligator triple filtered gate on the drum bus and gritted it up a bit with Audiomatic on the VHS setting, slightly dialing off the dry wet knob and also slightly increasing the transform. I also used this pattern function here on the triple filtered gate to come up with some slight variations on the sound, and that sounds like this. I'll leave it on 1 for now, but as you can see, there's a variety of different patterns available to go and experiment with. For the bassline, I started with bassline generator to draft some ideas. Moving over to Europa, I used the electromechanic wavetable on Sound Engine 1, layered with the tiny waves wavetable on Sound Engine 2. I utilised a small amount of modulation on both of the modifiers on these sound engines. Just a quick note on modifiers. These can be used for further modifying the currently selected wavetable in various ways. These include different algorithms such as faded sync, hard sync, invert, mirror, downsample, quantize, and much more. In this case, I used the fold preset found in the shaping folder. This is the default for Europa. The modifiers for both of these are currently being modulated by LFO1, which if I come over to our LFO section over here, you can see it's a free running sine wave LFO. Here's how that sounds. Here's without. And here's with. So you can hear the extra depth, grit, and slight aggression that comes about just from this modifier modulation, which is in turn affecting the wavetable sound. A key element of this sound came from the spectral filter, which affects the partials of the signal. I've brought the cutoff right down and have modulated it with envelope 4. I've done that with the envelope 4 knob here. This envelope, as you can see, has a stepped modulation preset on it, giving it an arpeggiated type of feel. I've also utilized the harmonics function found in the spectral filter, reducing the amount of low-end intensity and bringing up some harmonics, which sounds like this. The arpeggiated feel was a bit too intense for me, so I used envelope 3, as you can see here on negative modulation mode through the modulation bus, to modulate the wavetable of Sound Engine 1. This gives a more syncopated, pumping, groovy feel about it. I've also used this same envelope to modulate the waveform of Sound Engine 2. Here's how that sounds. I also applied the unison module found in Europa on Sound Engine 1, increasing the stereo width and slightly detuning the sound. For some extra grit and depth, I applied the inbuilt distortion on tube mode, dialing up the tone to get some subtle harmonic distortion. I then added a reverb using LFO2 to modulate the amount. The LFO is modulating with a square wave and is synced to a quarter note. I've also ever so slightly increased the delay for a less quantized feel. This modulation gives some interesting spatial movement, suiting the bassline and groove well. Here's how that sounds. And with the drums. I finished this sound off with some extra rack effects found in the Reason rack. This includes the channel dynamics compressor and channel EQ. I stumbled upon a technique when working on this demo which utilized the CV out of Europa being modulated by the inbuilt modulators within Europa. In this case, I've taken LFO2, which is our quarter note LFO, and sent that to CV1 out using the mod matrix here. I then flipped the rack around by pressing Tab on my keyboard and sent CV1 out to the low pass filter frequency CV in on the Reason channel EQ. By adjusting this low pass filter frequency, I then had the same stepped modulator in Europa being sent out to a separate effect, which in this case further emphasizes and works with the wavetable and filter modulation that's going on inside of Europa. Along with the reverb modulation going on, this makes for some really interesting tones. Here's how that sounds. Let's move on to the pluck sounds I created using Europa. Here's how they sound in the context of the full demo. This part started off with two sound engines. The first sound engine uses the vocal chord wavetable, which gets brighter as you move the shape knob like this. And I also have the electromechanic wavetable on sound engine 2. I start off by adding a new ensemble modifier to sound engine 1. I add some spectral filtering using the resonator 2 algorithm and bringing down the frequency a bit. By increasing the resonance alongside this gave it more fullness and depth in the low end. I also bring in the unison module for some extra stereo width and detuning. I left sound engine 2 as it is to give some nice high-end clarity to the sound. Here's how that sounds. It was a little intense at first, so I dialed it off with the inbuilt mixer found in Europa here. For modulation, I utilise envelope 4 heavily to add some flavour to it. I start by syncing the envelope to the beat and changing the time signature to 2/4. I modulate the shape function on sound engine 1, effectively altering the wavetable as it plays. This gives some extra snap to the sound and sounds like this. I route this sound engine through the filter here, dial it off, and then use envelope 4 to modulate that too. This really emphasizes that snap that envelope 4 has to offer. Alongside this, I also use the same envelope to modulate the reverb amount. I simply turn on the reverb, put the amount down to 0 as I want it dry at first, and then dial up the amount of modulation on the modulation matrix found in Europa. Here's how that sounds. You'll notice that if I turn off the wavetable or shape modulation of sound engine 1, the snap of the sound loses its effectiveness and attack. This demonstrates that various modulators, whilst working on different parts of the synth, very much work together and around each other to provide the snap of this particular sound, really adding to the groove. The ability to do this in Europa both have wavetable modulation, spectral filtering modulation, and filter modulation makes it an incredibly exciting synthesizer that you can use in your writing and sound design processes. And here's with that wavetable modulation. Here's without. Here's with. For an extra bit of wobble, I use envelope 3 to modulate the frequency of the spectral filter of sound engine 1, which is on the resonator 2 algorithm. This is how it sounds. To finalize this, we can now add some delay and EQ, and it's slowly starting to take shape. A final point to mention is the sound packs available. Sound packs are essentially a collection of patches that can inspire and speed up your music making process. This includes various different presets and patches made using the Reason devices. In this demo, I've used this incredible sounding running harmonics preset. This is from the Moving Pads sound pack for Europa by Sound Cells. This has some beautiful ambient patches in it. I'm playing a simple ambient melody with this sound. I've added a bit more compression on it, just for a touch more sustain. Make sure you browse the Reason Plus companion for all the packs available. There are some incredible sounds and patches right at your fingertips, ready to tweak specifically for your needs. I really hope you enjoyed this introductory tutorial to the amazing shape-shifting synthesizer, Europa, and you learned something new. From these examples, I hope you can see the wide range of sonic possibilities available inside of Europa. Whether that's combining multiple different wavetables, using the shape function to morph between the different waveforms inside of that wavetable, using the built-in modifiers, spectral filter, the unison module, the mod matrix, the envelopes, the LFOs, and much more. Europa is an incredible synthesizer with almost endless possibilities, and I urge you to go and check them out and explore them for your own tracks and sound design. Thanks so much again for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Cheers.